All right, everybody. Welcome to another interview. I thought this was the podcast where Gen X mom beats me up for an hour. No. This is better, not worse. This is better. Oh, I know you guys think you click on that and you're going to have... No. This is something I enjoy doing. This is the stuff you guys have been waiting for. This is actually Fight Doctor Round 3. Yeah, Round 3. You guys know him as Dr. McDreamy, but his real name is Damon Zavala. One of the most sought-after medical guys in the West Coast, and he is here bending his knee, shaving off time of his day for us. He didn't have to be here, but he is. Damon, thanks for showing up, brother.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
No, appreciate you coming in. Now, last time I disappointed you. I didn't have kind of the direction you wanted to go with the Fight Doctor stuff. So I dug a little deep, and you know what I discovered? Because you're way into this more than I am, and I like being a fan, but I'm a cursory fan, as they would say. You are deep in being a fan. This isn't just a hobby for you. You're really good at this and in tune.
Well, with Paramount, you should be able to log on anytime now, right?
Yeah.
There's no more pay-per-view, so you should be able to check those out.
So I start going back, and I start thinking, all right, I literally rolled up my sleeves, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to dig deep. I'm going to get into some of these controversies. I'm going to talk with the doctor here. We're going to get into some stuff, and I got lost. There was so much stuff about UFC and boxing. You start off with the guys in the controversies in performance-enhancing drugs.
Yeah.
I was there forever. Then you get into controversial fight calls.
Right.
And how things end. I was there forever. And I started getting lost. I started to make notes, and I found myself jumping around from topic to topic to topic. And then I got on one where there's bad referees, and these guys, there's whole Reddit pages on this ref's, fans say this ref's no good, this ref's really good. I had no idea, and I'm not even scratching the surface.
Don't get me in trouble with that one.
No, I don't want to talk about anything that gets you in trouble. I just want to have a good time. But I literally went down this rabbit hole, and I'm realizing I'm not even scratching the surface.
There's a controversy every week. And the good news is there's a controversy every week.
Yeah.
Because sometimes in the middle of that, and then next week, they forgot about it.
Well, what I'm trying to say to you also is if I bounce around a little bit, please forgive me. This will not flow as smoothly unless we take conversations from one to another. But I've got pages of notes here. We're going to have to order a pizza in about 3 hours and just keep going because that's how long this goes. It's really something. But
fire away.
All right. So let me bounce around with stuff, and I'd like to bring up a topic, and then you can either fill in the blanks for me so we can have a conversation as a fan, like you are, or you can tell me from the Fight Doctor point of view, because some of these things you're only 20 feet away when they happen, so you may have some insight that nobody else does.
Right.
All right. Let's start with one. Now, this one I didn't understand. This is a legitimate question as someone who is becoming much more interested. The UFC says they have a 6-month post-retirement testing period before you come back in. There was a video I watched, a long one, about Conor McGregor, who was out of the game. He was in retirement, and they had to bring him back because the main event on the cards kept failing. They couldn't. The guy couldn't pass his drug test, or he wouldn't participate. And let's bring Conor back in, but they couldn't bring him back in because they had to waive his 6-month waiting period when he's retired. Is there something they have to test him during that time?
So they have to all be, when they're on the UFC roster, they have to participate in random testing.
Okay.
So I don't know too much about that, but I do know that they can just show up on your doorstep and you got to submit.
All right, that makes sense then, because in order for him to be eligible to fight,
right,
he had to be on that program 6 solid months, and they're like, we don't have 6 months before before the fight.
And the reality is that a lot of these guys are using something to help them recover, because that's really the key.
Right.
In Nevada, it used to be that for testosterone,
right,
it couldn't get up above 6-to-1 ratio. So, and different states have different ratios. Like there's 4 to 1.
So they do allow some of that to a degree.
They do. I think the UFC has a higher standard, to be honest, and I think that's out the window.
Well, there's a story that comes up that where and I'll get to that in a little bit, about a guy that gave him permission to use certain things and then realized we shouldn't have done that.
Well, that's like
public knowledge. It's on video. Like, yeah, and even Dana White's like, yeah, we're changing that right away because we shouldn't have allowed. He's on the interview. This guy saying I was allowed to do this. I gave my stuff. Now they're saying I can't.
That's called a TUE. Did you read that? It's a therapeutic use exemption.
Yes.
So that's right. So they can. There's a lot of rules, and we have to be involved with some of these because if they get a cortisone shot,
right?
If that happened within 12 hours of the fight, and they didn't let us know there's no TUE use exemption,
right?
Then they're not going to be able to fight. If they let us know outside of that window, then they were okay to have that. Okay,
so then this brings up another one that I'm bouncing around with. I started going down a rabbit hole looking at guys, fighters, UFC guys, who were, they use marijuana all the time. And in the beginning, these guys are getting kicked off the roster for using marijuana.
Nate Diaz.
Yeah, and that was one of the names.
Yeah.
And the first thing I thought of was like, okay, I had a Michael Phelps moment. Mm-hmm. Michael Phelps was like, well, we're going to disqualify you because you beat everybody in the Olympics, 2 Olympics ago, and you were on weed. And I'm like, you guys understand?
Not performance enhancing.
Yeah, I'm like, do you guys realize how embarrassing that is? In the Olympic committee, if they would have called me, but the Olympic committee for some reason does not call me and ask me, what my input is.
Or me.
I have an opinion. I would have told them, don't say anything. Don't get Michael Phelps in trouble. Don't get Nate Diaz in trouble. If he's beating all of your other guys on weed, you got a problem with all your other guys. Right. How would you like to go to the swimmers and go, hey, Michael Phelps beat you by like a length and a half swimming in. Well, he was on weed the whole time. I mean, that slows you down. It doesn't make you faster. That's embarrassing. I'd be like, don't tell everybody he beat me and he was smoking grass before the event. That makes me look even worse, Tell him he had a performance enhancing drug.
So the Olympic standards are a little bit different. And in Nevada, I believe it's not something that is held against you, or do they even test for it anymore?
Yeah, now see, the rabbit hole showed me that, 15 years ago, you're out.
Right.
20 years ago, you're out. Right. Now it's come to be like, it's not a big deal.
It's recreational. It's been approved. Yeah,
it's medicinal. It's got people have notes. Nobody cares anymore.
Right.
However, I did watch a video where Joe Rogan, not on his show, he was a participant as a panelist. And Joe says, I could make a clear argument with doctors that weed helps you absorb pain and you can fight better than the other guy.
I have heard him say that.
So now, from a medical point of view, what would you say? You're a doctor. What do you think?
It's one of those, in this case, it would be something that I'd have to do personally to probably understand that. And I've never smoked weed in my life, so I don't know about that. So I do know a lot of people that have smoked weed, and it's never we never tested it out, slap. I don't have a slap competition with someone that's high and say, let's do this before and let's do this after and see which one hurt more.
I like how the first thing Dr. McDreamy says is, to know this accurately, I'd have to try it out. I'd have to smoke some weed and get in a fight with someone, and then I could answer intelligently. But until that point,
that's really the only way to answer it. Honestly, I don't know. I think it's a non-issue, honestly.
Well, now this brings me. This will start coming full circle with performance enhancing drugs. There's so many fighters that smoke weed. They're who cares anymore? It's kind of a level playing field. Everyone's
especially
smoking,
after the fight. Yes,
right. Everybody's smoking weed, so who cares? All right. Well, then why is there not some sort of level of pump you up and keep you going on performance enhancing drugs where they say, you can do it, but there's a limit, so everybody's equal, because they either have to say. And this is like they fight with this in Major League Baseball. There, so many people sneak around and do it. It's almost like, okay, look, everybody just do it. If this is what you want to do, it's your career, it's your stuff. You want to mess up your body, go ahead. Or put a limit and say, this is what you're allowed to do. These 10 drugs you can take. Just let everybody do it, and let's not be testing and banning and ruining the sport Just go.
It's like that Saturday Night Live skit with the all steroid Olympics. Remember that? Yeah. The arms are falling off and everything like that. I bodybuilding, of course, is one sport that, right? They have and those guys, it's just known. You're not going to get looking like that without having multiple steroids on board. So, but again, they're not healthy. They're not, people look at that and they think that, that looks great aesthetically, but they're just not healthy. So I think from a health aspect, it's if you're taking anabolic steroids,
right,
and you are trying to get an edge or better performance, you're doing something to your body that's not good in the long run. Now, there are a lot of people who have dabbled in this early on in life,
right, and
now they need this TUE, the therapeutic use exemption, to be on testosterone replacement therapy. Okay,
right.
And that brings you from here to the average playing field, but not here. So when you talk about this, there's so many nuances to it that you have to just go, what are we really talking about?
Well, and I don't think you could ever go at it from a health point of view on the UFC side. But I don't think you'd ever say, well, we're trying to keep you healthy, so you're not allowed to do these because you're not going to you're not going to be a healthy person. Like, the whole sport isn't healthy. I'm getting the shit kicked out of me in there. I mean, if I'm willing to do that, I should be able to do this. That's what they would say. That would be an argument you could make as a fighter. All right, let's move on. Brock Lesnar was given an exemption in UFC 200. There's a lot of pieces. McGregor pulled out he wasn't doing press conferences. They punted on him. John Jones, he had potential doping, so they put Brock Lesnar in there, and he beat Mark Hunt, and then he fails a post-fight test. Now, they caught him on estrogen blockers. Mm-hmm. Now, this made no sense to me, and I even heard Rogan's explanation, but I'd like you to tell me. They tested him positive for an estrogen blocker, but that isn't an enhancer. What does that tell you? That's
on the end of a cycle of doing anaerobic or anabolic steroids.
Okay.
So after that, when you take testosterone, a male taking testosterone, some of that converts into estrogen.
Okay.
So there's a common thing that happens to males, and it's called bitch tits. That's kind of what it is. And if you ever seen a fighter raise up and you see this circle, that's called gynecomastia, and that's when there's too much estrogen on board. And so they in a cycle of taking performance enhancing drugs, on the end of that cycle you may take a medication to lower your estrogen, anostrozole or some of these other ones that do that.
So that's funny, that's word for word what Rogan said. He goes, the only reason he got caught was because he got caught with the estrogen blocker.
Right.
And the only reason you would take that is if you were doing something with steroids you weren't supposed to be doing. Right. There's no other reason to take that. So, they knew right then there was a problem. This was after the fight.
Have you seen Brock Lesnar, by the way?
Not lately, just the pictures I saw.
Pictures? I mean, those pictures are, he's a massive guy.
Yeah,
huge. He's 260 pounds ripped. And so you just don't get that way naturally.
Well, I always had that argument that people used to get mad at, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate from this, but Barry Bonds was a yoked out dude. Do you guys ever see his rookie baseball card?
Oh, he's skinny. Yeah.
He's like Ken Griffey when he came into the league. And then
Mark McGwire, Sosa, all those guys.
Yeah, and then you tell me that they got that way naturally? Not a chance.
Well, they all, at some point, were caught.
All right, so where was it? Was it Joe Rogan's?
So we're still on the same subject of these drugs. Is that where we're
a little bit right here. I just kind of go, well, we're going to jump off of it because I said, I'm telling you, it's so interesting, Damon. All this stuff is, I'm telling you, I could spend a week doing nothing else but homework and prep and videos to show you.
Right.
And then we could talk for 4 hours. That's how interesting this is to me now. Okay. There's just stuff.
Good.
All right, here's another one. If I say Towelgate, do you know what I'm referring to in the UFC?
I do. One just happened just recently, too, in Sydney. So Daniel Cormier was the first one to kind of... Yeah, he was... So anytime you see someone getting weighed, okay, sometimes they have to strip all the way down, take everything off, and they put a curtain around you.
Yeah.
Well, all you do is rest your hands on that and push down, and you're lighter.
Right. And and that's what this guy did. Daniel Cormier goes up there. Now he's in front of everybody. They do the weigh-ins, and he's totally naked. He's got a towel on. The trainers on both sides, and I'm telling this for our studio audience, for those of you watching, I'm pointing off to the side because to my left, your right, there's people here. And they take the towel, the two trainers take the towel and stretch it out so you can't see his junk. He steps up on the scale. He did not make weight. Right there in front of, 500 people and 600 cameras. He didn't make weight. He was done. It's like, well, you're a pound and a half over. He's like, well, let me do it again. He steps up on there. The two trainers pull the towel tight, and he leans on the towel. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. He says he grabbed the towel so people couldn't see his junk, and he's looking down at the thing. He's pushing down, and the towel's stretching. He goes, how about now? And they go, you made weight. Mm-hmm. Half the people in the room go, bullshit. And he's like, no, it's good. There's just something wrong with that scale. And he walked off, and that was it. Now,
so he got away with that.
Yeah, he did.
There was just a UFC card in Sydney, and there was a fighter who I worked with in Shanghai, and I remembered him. His face is tatted up. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I didn't see that one.
So they just showed this. It was all over social media. So he gets up there and he had to take everything off, and they put the curtain in front of him, and he was flexing, but his elbows were on the thing and kind of doing this. And it was hilarious because this guy is just going with this scale, and he's just going back and forth. And it was like at 122 at one point.
Yeah.
And then it goes to 129, and it's all over the place. And this guy's up there just waiting. It's like, hurry up.
Yeah.
And he's just doing this thing, and finally he got caught, and that fight was pulled.
Unbelievable. Yeah. But I mean, if you're the main event, you're the top of the card, and you do that right before the fight, there's people going to be pissed. You got to make weight. You got to get in the. You got to get in the ring. You got to do the fight.
Yeah, Dana White does not like this, and people missing weight. He just says it's unprofessional.
Well, there's a deal there. All right, so there's let me raise the tailgate. There's one in here that kind of bled into two stories. One was an injury in T.J. Dillashawn's
the shoulder.
Yeah, and Sterling with his shoulder, right?
Oh yeah, Aljamain, yeah.
Aljamain Sterling. And he goes into this fight. It didn't even last a round. He got his shoulder got destroyed in the first round, and everyone's angry, everyone's pissed, and everyone says, you should have told us. Yeah. Now, if he is a breath away from losing his shoulder in a fight, and he couldn't even make it a full round. I mean, he was destroyed, and he was on his back crying about it. He was done. How does that get by everybody? How does it get by doctors? How does that get by trainers? I don't understand.
Yeah, this is actually the shoulder one is a fairly common one. You can get your shoulder to dislocate as you're throwing a punch or moving around or grappling. And in mixed martial arts, UFC, you're in positions where that shoulder can be compromised and pull out.
Okay.
Well, in his case, I don't know if you saw it, he went to the corner and it was visibly out.
Right. Yes.
And it was so cringeworthy. They were just yanking on that shoulder to get it back in. So that was like, we can't, you can't do that. So I'm involved, like I told you before, the Association of Ringside Physicians.
Sure. We
get together and we pull all these, controversial, topics,
right,
and we go over them as a group. And we all agree that, that's just not going to happen. First of all, a doctor can't intervene in that 1 minute, break.
No, wait. Why couldn't you have, or a doctor stepped in and said,
we can't treat
his? No, I know, but why can't you say his shoulder's hanging out? Call the fight. Stop the fight.
True. No. Well, I say that, but I was just involved in a controversial fight in boxing that we're going to be discussing with the Association of Ringside Physicians tomorrow. And I had a boxer in the 8th round. He threw his shoulder out.
Okay.
And I didn't know. Sometimes this happens all the time to fighters.
Okay.
And they just can get it back in.
Right.
Well, apparently, after the fact, I found out it was the first time that happened to him.
Oh.
So he comes over at the end of the 8th round, sits in the corner. I saw that. I get up, and I work really well with this ref, Tom Taylor, and we're on the same page, and we're right on it.
Sure.
So I get over there and look at the corner, and the corner people are looking at me just like they're looking at me right now.
Yeah.
And they're like, do something. I'm like, I told them, I said, I can't do anything for that shoulder. But
you can't treat it. Right.
I can't treat it, but I said, if you want, you can kind of, and I kind of gave like this.
Right.
And it went right back in quickly.
Well, they were saying this guy, before he got his shoulder blown out, was that he got on TV afterwards. He goes, "Oh, it happens 22 times while I'm sparring."
That's right.
And so now I'm, as an onlooker, I'm thinking, okay, well then, so that's normal, but you just got the shit kicked out of you in round one. You're done.
Are you defending yourself? Can you throw a punch? Are you competitive? But back to this other part. So I look at him and I said, I can't do it. And he gets back in. So Tom Taylor, after the minute, calls timeout, and I just have him range it and move it. And I said, you're ready to go. And he said, yeah.
Okay.
He fought the whole 9th round without that going out.
Okay.
And then I'm down here, and one of the UFC corner guys comes over to me and says, hey, they're talking about stopping the fight. Well, he was getting tuned up. He was not doing well in the fight. So I go up there and listen, and they're talking about it, and the ref comes over. We're really, hey, if you're thinking about this long, please just, because he was way behind the scorecards,
sure.
Having shoulder issues, did not go out in that 9th round. And I had told Tom, in the break, I said, if that goes out again, stop it. And sure enough, in the 10th round, early on, that he had a little twinge, and he called the fight. Perfect. I thought the mechanics were great. Hopefully, I think everybody will agree, and that are colleagues of mine, and say that's what you got to let that go.
Yeah, but if they jump on the ref, you would be the first one backing him up and saying, no, that was the right call. I'm with him.
Oh, absolutely. No, well, that's the thing. So we had we call it optics. So I was up there in the 8th, in between 8th and 9th, dealing with this, showing the whole crowd and all of Paramount that he was good to go. So we set this case up. They have boom mics, and they can probably pick up the fact that I told Tom, hey, if this goes out again, call the fight.
Right.
So sometimes we say lower your threshold, short leash, whatever we say.
Right.
But this is, if it goes out again, call it, and he did. So it was set up perfectly. I don't think there's any controversy on that, but we'll see.
Well, it's still it's still good for you guys to review those things and go, this is how it's supposed to work.
The mechanics is definitely something, and we go over the mechanics of different things. But, there's a difference, like TJ Dillashaw, that the corner went from just a slight putting back in, and if it goes out 20 times, in sparring or something like that, you would think it would go back in easily, but it didn't.
But that's what my question is that how much are you allowed to push, poke, and prod at a fighter before the fight? I mean, I'm sure you guys don't just take his temperature and go, yeah, he's healthy, let's go. I mean...
Right, so that was your question.
Yeah.
So we have a medical forum. They all go through pre-fight physicals.
Sure.
Some doctors are more thorough than others as far as, getting in there and that. They have to disclose, these injuries, which they don't. They just don't. We just had a main event in... UFC just last weekend, and
someone didn't fill out their form.
They did not disclose.
You don't got to tell me who, but if you just
it was a wrist injury, and we went back. Actually, spoke with the doc that did his pre-fight physical, and nothing was disclosed. So, but he wasn't throwing his right hand, and he lost. And it turns out that he had a fracture 30 days ago.
But so there's my question: is that not only can it be dangerous for the fighter, which is that's bad,
right?
But it also makes for a bad fight. It's a dumb entertainment value when you find out later why this guy get killed so bad. Oh, he didn't disclose that he had a broken bone. I mean, it's horrible on the whole sport. It's kind of dumb for everybody.
I look at both sides. I look at as a fighter, you have a paycheck maybe once every 6 months.
Yeah.
And now you have this, and you're like, can I get through it? I probably can. I could probably do something to where, I don't have to really tweak this much. Now, if it's a head bleed or something that you're trying to hide that's going to kill you, that's a different story. But if, broken finger, blah, 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 you get through it.
Yeah.
And it's just like you're taking away that guy. Now, in reality, what could be done is, hey, you disclose this. Let's get this healed up, let's get you fighting at 100%, bring you back on another card. That's usually the way it goes, but I'm not in their shoes, so I don't.
No, I don't know. You know what? I didn't think about that. That's the guy's livelihood, and I get it. I do. All right. There's so much stuff in here. Don't. All right, let's switch it from, you need to talk to him about something?
No, I just need him to open his phone. Sorry.
Okay, so if you two are going to conduct business,
she's on call for me right now.
Got little Miss Hot and Nerdy answering Dr. McDreamy's phones. That's something I thought I would never say in my entire life.
Let her know I'm in a podcast right now.
Okay. There was okay. Tell me I think you know the name I'm going to associate with this because it was a big story. I ran across it several times. What is TRT?
I had just said that is testosterone replacement therapy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so those are the ones that I told you about that have jacked up their hormones early on in life, and now their body is not producing the amount of testosterone they need so it's actually on the lower side of the average person.
Right.
So now they actually need testosterone replacement therapy to bump it up to get it to be a level playing field.
Okay, so Belfort. Vitor Belfort.
Yep.
Did he knock a dude's eye out?
I don't.
It says because Michael Bisping has lost an eye, and he. Then it came out that he's like, this guy's got his TRT level and shit, and he's like, he shouldn't have been doing this. He shouldn't have been in there with me. That's not fair. I lost the fight. I lost an eye, and he just gets penalized for being tested.
That's a big jump to say that he was on testosterone and he lost an eye. I mean, Michael Bisping's eye injury is well known.
I'm just saying, that's what he says.
Yeah,
he pokes out the eye during interviews and goes, "Look what he did to me." I watched him do it. I watched an interview with him doing that.
I mean, but that's testosterone or not. I mean, that could have happened.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah. So it would be hard to blame that one on it.
It'd be a little bit of a stretch.
I think so.
All right. Okay. Moving on to something else now. I told you you're going to bounce around a little bit here. Close call fights. Or stuff that I didn't realize how people doing on social media, when they gather a fight up to do a little video, they really did a little homework here. They tell you what the judges turned in on their cards, but then they also say, here is 7 guys that do this in that's all they do is they judge online. Mm-hmm. Then they have fans.
Unofficial scorecards you're talking about. Yeah.
Right, unofficial scorecards. Then they have fans who just turn in at the fight's over. What did you guys think?
Right.
And they just have a basic of what percentage of a million fans thought. So it's Machida versus Rua. Mm-hmm. He says, and all of the media scored for Rua online like 65%. Like clearly this guy won.
Yeah.
Clearly. And the judges, what do you call it? Not the judge card, unofficial scorecards.
Yeah.
They all went the same way.
Yeah.
But then you turn around and the judges who were there gave it the other way. And you're like, how does it even happen?
This is a tough part of, boxing has gotten a lot of black eyes, they call it, they're just, people stop watching anymore because of the controversial judging in certain fights.
Okay, then tell me, so you've been there, you've been on
I live this.
Yeah.
So
how on earth can everyone in the offline cards go, okay, he clearly won. Clearly they gave it to Rua. And then all the fans go, 65% easily, or a draw, and there's no way he lost. And then 3 judges sitting there saw it completely differently.
Well, that's the good part, and that actually goes in favor of the judges if they're all looking the same way.
Yeah.
So what people don't know, average fight fans, even my son actually texted me during one of the fights, and we're going back and forth, and he says, well, he got him down. He got a takedown. Isn't that count for something? And the judges know, they all do training. So if people think that someone was taken down in an MMA fight and didn't do anything with that takedown, it's a nothing burger.
Really?
Nothing happened. So I can go shoot on you, take you down, put you on the ground, but you get to the cage and you get right back up. That didn't score anything.
Okay, does that score differently in heavyweight boxing?
Well, in boxing, it's very easy. If a ref calls a knockdown, it's a knockdown. It's a 10-8 round automatically right there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well, there's another one in there, and I'll kind of bounce back and forth between these two because Romero versus Whitaker, as a generic question, Romero dropped Rob Whitaker twice, like knocked him down. But the entire rest of the fight, he kind of owned the fight. Very methodical. Right. Landed a bunch of blows. But still, you may be the guy coming out consistently, but if you get your ass knocked down 2 times,
MMA that does, you have to really, and it's subjective, right? It's still a judge going, did that really hurt him? Well, or did that, no, it's not. Boxing is clear. You touch the canvas. In fact, if your glove touches the canvas, that's a knockdown.
Really?
Pretty much, yeah.
I did not know that.
If you sit on the rope and the rope was holding you up,
not leaning,
not a lean. Yeah, it's actually a vertical kind of dropping. Okay. And if for that rope not being there and you would have fallen, that's a knockdown.
I did not know that.
That's clear. That's easy. So boxing is really easy. MMA is way more subjective. So these guys, I know these judges. They're friends of mine. Right. And we go out to dinner afterwards. They're all talking about it. They're the ones that are getting all the controversial.
But I suppose during those dinners, they're working through these things. They're not being callous about it. They're not being carefree, like, who cares what you guys think. They got to be working through this.
It's real time, and you got to put a number down, 10-8, 10-9, whatever you're going to put.
Right.
Hand it off to someone, and now what you just did is done. You can't undo that.
Wow.
Now you look at the fight. Now these guys go back and watch rounds after rounds, and it's controversial.
Right.
The boss, Jeff Mullen, will say, hey, why don't you guys go back and look at that? So if one judge is out, they all talk about it. Every single fight, at the end of the fight, they go and they meet up. Sure. And they said, hey, you went this way, you went this way. Why did you do that? Well, I just felt like his strikes were more effective, and it seemed like it was doing more damage. So I get that you're going to have this in the sport because of the subjectivity.
Well, and that the one I brought up about Romero versus Rob Whitaker, I wrote this down because I had to watch this video twice because I was trying to understand. And it's like, okay, Romero dropped Whitaker twice, different times. I mean, convincingly knocked him down. He's like, well, you got, that rung your bell. But the whole decision.
Well, how do you know that?
Because it looked like it to me.
Right. So that's exact. No, but you tell me in words why you felt that way.
Because when Whitaker, if Romero dropped Rob twice, if Romero dropped Whitaker twice, and I'm watching it happen, 2 different separate, not like right in a row, they were time apart.
Right.
I felt like that guy worked his ass to a point where he couldn't defend himself, and he knocked him down. And the next round, he did methodically and did it again. Okay, that dude's kissed the canvas twice.
So he got knocked down. His eyes. His eyes went back and he was out.
Well, no, he wasn't out.
Now we're getting there.
No. He did get knocked down.
But this is it.
So then the guy gets back up, and Whitaker, who's been knocked down twice, gets back in the fight and lands punches and trades punches and stays consistent the whole way through. And they gave the fight to him. It's like, wait a minute.
The fight or the round?
The fight. The whole fight went his way.
That's you have 3 or 5 rounds, right? So, and you have 5 minutes in each of those rounds.
Well, and I did go further in that to find out what the fans,
their criteria.
The fans all went, bullshit. That's no way. He got knocked down twice. He owned him. But then the reasoning with the judges was like, okay, other than those 2 moments,
that's right.
Rob fucking owned that every round. He was more methodical. He connected more. His punches landed. He didn't knock the other guy down, but he was better the whole fight. Just other than those 2 things. So I thought, you knock him down, that should count. Like, no matter what, that round should be yours, and they did not score it that way at all.
What the judges use for judging these is 3 Ds: damage, duration, and domination. So if you can, the most important out of those 3 is damage. Okay. So as you're going along in 5 minutes and you're watching this, you're keeping a mental tally of this guy's red corner has, 10-9 right now, 10-9, 10-9, up until 3 minutes. And now 2 minutes, this guy lands one big blow, knocks him down. Did that overtake the 10-9?
Maybe. That's what I think. I think it would have.
Now you're understanding why there's controversy. Now you understand exactly that. And each one of these each one of these judges are on 3 different areas views.
Oh, they don't sit by side?
Oh, no, you're on. You have 3 different posts,
okay.
And where I sit, I'm nowhere near as close as where these judges are, and they have a monitor in front of the looking at this.
Yeah.
So you either are watching, you're listening, you're seeing, you can hear the punch if it hit the body or not, or did it hit an arm, and that's not really damage. So your view is going to be different than my view.
Right.
And so you're right there. They're up against the cage right in front of you. You saw, as they're hunkered up against the cage, these shots actually getting in and doing uppercuts and knocking him. The guy on the other side doesn't know if those are landing, so he's not going to call it. Right? Yeah. And if you see him stumbling, he must have done damage.
Yeah.
So this is where this comes in. These guys are... It's not fixed. I promise you that. It's not fixed. These guys are really good at what they do. These judges are awesome. They go back and they look and they critique themselves and, watching fights over and over. It's just part of the real-time game of giving a 10-9 and now calling a 10-9 versus a 10-8 in MMA. That's a huge thing. You had to have damage. You had to have damage.
I was amazed at how many times they showed the cards and these videos, these synopsis, these Monday morning quarterbacking, how all this went. I was amazed at how many fight cards were the same from all 3 judges.
Yeah,
I was amazed at how spot on these guys were. Right. It wasn't like, this was a close call 2-3. No. They were almost always on the same page. And I couldn't believe that. I'm like, come on, they really all judged it the same way? But
that's why I said if you said all 3 said the same thing, then there had to be something with judges. And, the lay person or the average fight fan doesn't know really the criteria. They don't know the criteria.
No, I wouldn't know at all. I just look at it from...
But now you do.
I got a hot dog and a beer in my hand and going, that guy should have won. He whooped his ass. But I don't know the...
Right.
I don't know the punch count. I don't know how they would score it. I'm just looking at it as a fan. But now I can see why... when the fans log online and they're like 65, 70% for this guy, and the decision for if it goes the other way, I can see why they'd be mad.
Yeah,
because they're not judging it the same way.
Right.
And you don't know until you're sitting there. I understood that from watching all these videos, and you've been in tune with that every step of the way. You're not these guys. You're not sitting right there. Here's another one: BJ Penn and Frankie Edgar. You know that fight?
Oh yeah.
So
I think I was there.
Frankie's a massive underdog. Shouldn't even. People said he shouldn't even have been there, but he's in the fight. He gets the ticket. He gets the card. He comes out there, and he comes out just blasting. And I watched like the highlights of the first 2 or 3 rounds. Yeah. That guy's just fast.
Yeah,
and he's just taking him out. Now he does that all the way until the middle or the late last rounds. Then he loses steam. Then he loses out, and Penn comes back and just starts walloping him. He's playing defense, and you think, and everybody thought he almost got knocked out, is what they're saying. He was on his last breath. I thought, and I looked at the highlights twice and went through the whole thing and said, okay, he came out strong, but was Penn defending himself the whole time and couldn't deal with it, or was he doing a rope-a-dope and waiting? I got to tell you, I think he was getting his ass kicked that whole time. Penn was going, holy shit, I can't deal with this. This is an onslaught.
Right.
And even in the last few rounds, when Edgar was just hanging on, waiting for the bell, they gave the whole fight to Frankie on that because they're like, if you look at it, you whooped his ass through 75% of these rounds, and just because you were running out of steam in the last, there's no way he was owning you. He didn't own you in the beginning.
Right. So
which was the better fighter? Well, the better healthy, both of them starting out, Frankie Edgar for sure. But which is the better tired fighter? Which is the better fighter in the last rounds? I'd go the other way. Penn was a better tired fighter. Now, how do you judge that? How does a judge tell which way do you go there?
So you've heard the phrase, don't leave it in the judge's hands?
I'm gonna. He quote. I have that written down. That's one of the famous things.
So that's what That's the idea. Don't leave it in the judge's hands. You got to submit them, knock them out, do what you can. And it's tough to actually make that call when you're in there. You got to gauge whether or not your fighter's tired enough, hurt enough to where you're going to take, and blow your wad. See if you're gonna. And if you don't get it, now you're like what Edgar was, and he was just...
You just left it.
You got nothing left. You're gassed out.
But he dominated, so Penn had no answer. Penn had no answer for those first several rounds, and he just owned him. But then that comes down to me. It's like, well, which is the better? The fresh, healthy fighter? Oh, Frankie by far. If you get into the last rounds, which is the best tired fighter? Penn.
Yeah.
But now,
but you don't judge it that way, though.
But that's the way I see it. It's like I look at it that way.
Yeah. So I think you're making your point, and this controversy is always going to be a controversy as long as there's subjective judges judging fights.
Well, and then I wrote it down, and that's exactly these controversial fights that come back, and people are going, how could these judges score it this way? And Dana White has come out on many occasions and goes, I keep telling my fighters, if you're going to whine about this later, don't leave it in the hands of the judges.
That's right.
Knock the dude out, and we're done talking.
Yeah.
But you leave it up to
easier said than done, though.
Well, sure, you leave it up to controversy, you leave it up to judges, then don't complain about it.
Right.
That's I got to say, I heard him say that on 3 different occasions over the years when I was watching these interviews. And Dana White's got a point. He's like, look, we will do the best we can with the judges. We'll do the best we can with referees. We will enforce the rules for drugs and the steroids and everything. We'll do everything we can. But in the end, if you just win the fight, don't leave it in anybody's hands. Knock the dude out and let's get on with our next fight.
That's right.
You stole my line.
Sorry.
Stole my line, man. All right. I had something here. Well, I don't want to get into that one right now. Let's see. I had written down some stuff. I actually printed some stuff out.
You came prepared today.
Yes, I did. You've never seen me have in fact, no one has. I have every interview I've ever done with anybody. I have never.
Yeah, he's kind of surprising me with all these names and these fights he's bringing up.
And I'm trying to get them right because I'm so interested. I went through so many. I lose track of, which was the guy that I saw that did that? Because I haven't been living and breathing this as long as you, so it's difficult for me. But I was so interested.
Good. I'm glad
There's so much stuff in there. All right.
Start watching them now.
Now let's get back to my level of fighting.
Okay.
Kimbo Slice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I worked a lot of his fights.
Did you really? And I remember Dana White used to make fun of him, said, yeah, he's the toughest guy at the barbecue. That's what he always used to say. I'm not letting him in UFC. He's not MMA. He's not UFC. He's just the toughest guy at the barbecue. Yeah. Do you guys know who Kimbo Slice was? Anybody in the audience?
Sounds familiar.
He was this massively strong black guy who used to just do fights on YouTube. Some guy would pay him $1,000. They'd meet in a parking lot or a backyard or a front yard, and $1,000 or $2,000, and this guy would come up and take the money, and Kimbo would come out there, and they start bare knuckling it until one of them can't move. And I don't know that I ever saw him lose. Maybe he did. I never saw him lose. And he was ready to go in the UFC. And Dana White's got the attitude, you're the toughest guy at the barbecue, but you're not even in this class. I don't know how he eventually got his shot, but he did. And he got trained. I mean, he got in there.
Ultimate Fighter.
Yeah.
The reality series, yeah.
And he got in and is like, okay, we're not just throwing you out there. You're going to train. Someone's going to, because he had no ground game at all.
No.
None.
But he learned it when he got there.
He did learn.
Yeah.
And I wanted to read, where was it here? Don't. There's something I wanted to read from Dana White. Kevin said, the toughest guy at the barbecue, says Dana White, to describe Kimbo Slice before Slice joined the UFC, implying that while Kimbo was terrifying as a backyard fighter, he was not originally viewed as a top-tier mixed martial artist. I don't know where the quote is from Dana, but it was super complimentary. He said, first he says, well, when he came in to talk to him about joining and getting a contract and being on there, he walked into the hotel room with his people and Dana's people. He goes, I don't know if we're going to get out of here. This guy looks like Dana says, it looked like he could dismantle you.
Yeah.
And then Dana says, this guy comes in and is the nicest guy.
Very.
And was just
very
thankful to be invited into the room, respectful about what they were doing.
God rest his soul. He's
gone. Yeah. And I thought, no, Kimbo Slice. But then I thought about it. I don't ever remember him talking a bunch of trash on these YouTube videos. He never called anybody by their mama or your mama. He never did any of that. And now that I'm thinking about it, I was going, well, you know what? Because I followed him on YouTube when he was doing those. And I thought, wow, maybe I had this wrong about him. And then you listen to Dana talk, and he's like, and he did really try. He put in the effort. He really came prepared to go to work and learn what he didn't know.
Yeah.
So that was something. So you actually worked?
Yeah, I did as physical and Ultimate Fighter. Ultimate Fighter is a reality series where they all, have to fight to get into the house.
Sure.
And when they're in the house, and they start fighting each other, and it's tournaments tournament style. So you get to see him fight more than once, and then he actually got to the point to where I worked a big one in Vegas, the Ultimate Fighters finale, and he was in there.
Really?
So yeah, he did really well. Very respectful, good guy.
I found that quote. One of them is the turnaround with Dana White. White later described Kimbo as the nicest guy in the world and noted that a great person to do business with. He admitted to the crowd, he goes, "Don't ever judge a book by their cover." And he described Kimbo as that very epitome of that statement. So
Jorge Masvidal is another guy that came from the backyard fights.
Oh, yeah?
Down in Florida. Yeah.
Don't need that right there.
How did he do in the MMA? How did he do fighting?
Both of them. Well, Jorge did really well. He was up there, championship style and getting up there in the BMF title and all that. So I think he was in that. So yeah, he did really well. But they have something to prove, right? Coming from that style of fighting,
that setting.
Yeah. I mean, it was like the newer, the Mr. T back in the tough man competition. Remember that?
Yeah.
So that guy, how does that translate into real life? And how do these backyard fighters translate into MMA? They have to learn all the aspects of MMA, the ground game, like you said, the wrestling and all that. They devote. But when you get in the UFC and you're around these people all the time and you have a coach basically drilling this all the time, you don't practice so much on your stand-up game.
Right.
You gotta practice the other stuff. So you might surprise somebody, they just think, oh, this guy's just a stand-up. And then all of a sudden they're on their back and like, well, where'd that come from?
And that, I'm glad, you said the same thing Dana did, that he's a nice guy, that he really was, and he was there trying to work. He was really putting forth the effort, trying to be something. I would have never thought that, just from what you see on the outside, from a publicity point of view.
Right.
All right, here's another one. Oh, I'm sorry, Thomas. Were you done with your questions for the donkey?
I think so.
You good? Okay.
So.
Remind me to fire him later. No. I'm sorry, Little Miss Hot and Nerdy? What? Yeah, she's over there talking in the corner. Thomas has a microphone. He can jump in. You don't have a microphone. Little Miss Hot and Nerdy, be quiet in the corner over there. He's on the payroll, the other guy. Junior Jones versus Rogers. I'm going to say that wrong. Matagua in 2009. Matagua took incredible punishment while hanging on the ropes in the later rounds, the referee allowing him to continue to its natural conclusion. And I saw a highlight of this.
Is that Junior Dos Santos?
That's what the quote is right there. You can read that. But this is under the topic of refs that let things go too far.
Oh, Junior Jones. Okay.
And you see a guy. Now you just described something to me I never knew. I thought when you're leaning on the ropes.
I think this is boxing.
Yeah, you're leaning on the ropes. You're leaning on the ropes. I got that. But you were talking about downward pressure on the ropes, meaning the ropes are supporting you from falling over.
Yeah,
you're going
Muhammad
down.
Ali, rope-a-dope.
Right.
Remember?
But
leaned against it.
But how many times do you have a responsibility as the fight doctor if you see something going too far? And there's a list in here. There was quite a few, because I went into AI and I said, hey, give me some of these fights. Let me look them up. Where the public says the fight went too far. The public says the ref let it go too long. I'm not disparaging any referees by specifics,
right?
But I don't even know who the guy was in this fight. I don't want to mention his name. I don't care. But do you have a responsibility of looking at that and going, this is going way too far? This guy's medically not there.
Yeah, but in Nevada, California, I could jump up there and try to get the referee's attention and stop it. In Nevada, I can't.
You can't.
No, it's up to the ref. It's up to the ref to recognize this. And now that's where the controversy would come in. If this has happened multiple times on either end. A ref will stop it too early,
right?
According to the public or what have you,
right?
Or too late. I would rather have them stop it too early, obviously, as a doctor. But this is where as a fight fan, could that have gone a little bit more, and could you got to the natural conclusion? Yeah, maybe. But if always on the side of caution.
But even in Nevada, you can't say anything. You just have
I can't say it. No, I can't. I mean, we work so closely with these refs.
Right.
And we have a lot of, eye contact when we're there. It's like, I can give him one of these,
Right.
And
maybe make him look a little closer.
Right. But so if they survive to get to that round,
yeah.
I'll get up there and watch and get actually close, see what they're talking about. See, are his eyes there? Is he ready to go? One of those things. And sometimes, there's just unwritten thing that happens with refs. If they really want our help to stop it,
right,
they'll come up and they'll put their hand on my shoulder and they'll give a squeeze,
letting you know, like, hey, give me a little guidance here.
Back in the day, that would have been something I would have needed a little nudge to go along with.
Right
now, I think we're usually on the same page, and we're both we'll just look at each other.
Do you realize that people that are going to listen to this are going to understand how great that is, that you work that closely, that there's secret signals like, hey, am I on the right path? Are you on the right path? Are we on the same page? That's gigantic.
That's huge. This is something that's actually fairly recent. In the last few years, we started meeting with the refs. Before it used to be the thing, the refs do their thing, we do our thing, and we kind of just, everyone stays in their lane.
In your lane, yeah.
In this case, our lane is we're merging in that lane all the time because we want to be on the same page. And I think it really has come out again recently. If you're a big fan, you'll pick up on these things about our interactions in between the fight.
It's to have you say it out loud is gigantic. To say we are doing our best to all be on the same page.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're verbally going, look, we're not against each other here.
Right.
Nobody's saying mind your business. Not at all. You guys are doing the opposite.
Right.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Oh,
the ref
huge.
needs help getting him out of trouble, and then we'll need their help too. So that's why we'll say short leash or something of that nature. We'll give them just to lower your threshold on stopping the fight.
Yeah, there's these are just printed out. I'm not going to talk about all those guys. I want to get into every referee ever known to man. There's a phrase that I didn't quite understand, and if I read this, I watched a few excerpts from guys who were trying to explain it, in a referee trying to get their fight called right. Mm-hmm. Like you just said, you don't want to call it too soon. Mm-hmm. You don't want to call it too late. You want to call it straight up. Let it play out to its natural conclusion as much as you can. But there was something in here. It's called a champion mentality. Are you familiar with that?
I think I know what you're talking about.
I'll read you this part, then tell me your take, because this is just off of champion mentality. The refs are given high-ranked fighters or champions they give them more leeway to recover, which can sometimes lead to excessive damage on that fighter because they have that champion mentality of, this is the number one guy, or this is the guy who holds the belt. I'm not pulling him. He's going to fight to the very end. And they say if you get that champion mentality as a ref, sometimes you're letting things go a little bit too far because of their reputation.
Yes. Well, there's two things there. One is back in the day in boxing, it doesn't happen so much now. It used to be that if there was a champion and you were the challenger, there was a phrase, you had to take it from the champ.
Right.
In other words, you had to clearly beat them in order to get the round.
Yeah.
Okay. So now it's not, you can't give him extra credit. You can't give the champ extra credit just by being the champ.
Right.
If he got beat and call it that. So the other thing is you have to know the fighter. So that's why you're just getting into this, kind of looking at it. But over the years, how a fighter works. That they might play this possum game, the rope-a-dope, something, and they're really maybe not hurt, and they're going to use that to their advantage and come back with something with another fighter. How where their end point is and how far they can push it. Now the corners should know that even more because they're with them all the time. Well, but if you know these fighters, you know where their limit is.
That's the next thing on the list right there. He's cheating on my exam here. Is what he's doing.
Look at that.
No, you didn't have these papers. I haven't shown you these. Right under champion mentality, when they're talking about the ref situation, corner responsibility was the very next thing. Sometimes the fighter's corner fails to stop the fight, leaving it entirely to the referee. The next big discussion on Reddit in there were these guys saying the referee needs to listen to the corners. He needs to overhear what they're saying because they can pick up a lot of stuff. Now, you said you've done that. You've gone to the corner and listened in to the talking between, the guys in the corner to see exactly what's going on. There could be a fighter saying, stop the fight, stop the fight. You'd hear that.
Right.
But a ref could hear that too, couldn't he?
Oh, absolutely.
Is he allowed to listen in?
They go over, some refs will come over and listen in and kind of look at them and they'll come over to us and give us a thumb up or I'm concerned or something like that, nonverbal communication. But here's what happens. If I am really concerned, I'm going to jump up there and without being asked and kind of check things out.
Right.
But we have inspectors. If you notice fights, the fighters coming out in their walk to the cage or the ring,
right?
And there's some people in some most of the time in a big fight, it's a red blazer. Those are people that are accompanying. Those are inspectors.
What do they do?
They do a lot. They check behind. They're checking wraps. They, when someone has wraps and they have NSAC, that's Nevada State Athletic Commission, they're signing them. They're listening in. They're interpreters. They do a lot for us. So not just with the refs, but I'm relying upon. I'm looking up at the inspector as they're in there, and they're in my eyes and ears when they're up there, and they come down and they tell me, hey, he's said something about his foot or his hand or something of that nature. Really? Something that if the doctor comes up, they're going to shut up. So right. I have my mole up there, my inspector. They're always there, so they're never not going to be in the corner.
I have never even heard of that job title. I didn't even know it was
that's a big thing. In fact, a lot of big refs and big time refs and all that judges started as inspectors. That's usually how they get their foot in the door.
I gotcha.
Yeah, it's like used to be a $75 job to work like 3 days, and it's not glamorous, but they're very important.
Wow, far out. All right, moving on. See, there's one here. There's a bunch of these out there, and I'll just read you this one. This is 2016. Charlie Ward versus, God, and I can't say these guys' name. Ohio Carvalho? Anyway, 2016, Carvalho was pummeled while unconscious for a period before the referee intervened. Yeah. And Carvalho died 2 days later from subdural hemorrhaging. Now, it didn't say who the ref was, and I didn't ask. I'm not looking. I'm not throwing anybody's name out there, but that had to be a pretty big thing in 2016. This is not like it's in the 70s or something. This is recent.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the ref by name or the doctor by name, but nobody saw him go over the limit to where he was getting pummeled, and the doctor didn't call it. Nobody stepped in.
Yeah.
What's wrong there? What happened there?
Well, I brought up this on our last podcast, I think the number 2, and with Levander Johnson. I told you that story that I was there. He was
That's
up
the
against,
one where the dad talked to you afterwards.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And he was up there. He got beat. It was a stoppage from punches from against the rope, but he never went down. He never went out. He never went unconscious. So it's one of those you cannot beat yourself up with these things. And there are sometimes there's an egregious situation with the ref, just missed it. And, I think of Ray Mercer and Tommy Morrison. Tommy Morrison, I don't know if you saw that one, but Ray Mercer just beat him up with unanswered shots, and he was against the ropes, and the ropes were kind of holding him up. And, was that too long? Yeah, maybe. But he didn't die from that.
All right. What about go to 2020? Ferguson and, how do I say that guy's last name? Tony Ferguson, Justin
Gaethje.
Yeah, Gaethje.
Yeah.
And that one has like Reddit conversations for a year and a half.
That one or it was Holloway Gaethje too.
Well, Ferguson, severe unanswered damage in final rounds, took a massive amount of punishment that everyone says you just stopped that fight minutes ago. Not even seconds ago, minutes ago. Right. Now, I looked at the highlight reel on that one, and I got to say, with the fans are not wrong on that. I mean, he's getting beat to almost unconsciousness, but just because he's standing. Yeah. Well, now he didn't say he died; it just he recovered. But God, hey, how can this is what as fans we don't understand.
Right.
How can we be seeing this going on, and a ref is 3 feet from it, and the audience is screaming, "Stop the fight!" People at home are throwing beer cans at their TV, "Stop the fight!"
Yeah.
How do you? I mean,
what they don't know is probably what happened in the pre-fight instructions, where that fighter goes to the ref and says, let me out of my shield. I'm going to go out in my shield. Do not stop this fight in any way, shape, or form unless I'm just dead. They'll say that.
Really?
Oh yeah. Are they supposed to follow that advice? No, but this is something where it is. It's an art. This is something that's going to happen. I brought up this, I think, on our last interview too, the micro and the macro. The micro is exactly what you're talking about right now. It was clear that he was done and it was over, call it.
Yep.
The macro, is this a title fight? What's on the line? What's happening here? What was said before? I know this kid. I know what he can. I've seen him fight before, and he can take a lot of punishment and then come back and win. So this is in the back of your mind as a ref, and you have to make that right decision. What is the right decision, right? And so
but you're not calling balls and strikes live.
No,
like an umpire.
those are because
I get it that it's in the moment. I get it's in the moment. You got to call the ball or strike.
But there's more at stake. There's more at stake, and this is their life. You talked about it before. Their livelihood. This is, this champ, has. He's been there before, and he's come back, and he has a fighting chance to win. I can't. And some of these refs will come out and say, yeah, and they'll talk to us about it.
Right.
They'll come immediately over to us. Hey, did you think that was too long? No, I think I saw what you saw, and so we talk about it.
Well, here's what I like, that they don't talk about it in public.
Right.
The refs do not come out after the fight.
They shouldn't talk about it in public.
I mean, very rarely did I run across, when I was doing this deep dive on this stuff, very rarely did, in fact, I don't think maybe once out of all the stuff I looked at, did a ref ever publicly come out and say, yeah, I made a mistake there, I should have done. They don't. If they do that, it's to themselves, it's to to the other refs, it's to you guys, like you said, over dinner, going, all right, I made a mistake. But if you were to do that, how much would you ruin not only your own credibility, but the sport too? You can't come out and apologize for every mistake you make.
No, you can't. And some of these refs will engage in social media with people just, they maybe someone lost a lot of money on them, and they're pissed at them and death threats and this, that, and the other. No way should they engage back or defend themselves.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not. I can't see anything good coming from that at all. Especially in the position you guys are in. That's just insane.
Yeah.
All right. Where's my other notes? I wanted to talk about there was a story that was kind of really off anything we've talked about so far. Very different. Let me try to find the guy in there. This is bad rest. Okay. Diego Sanchez. He said he'd been with the UFC since the first season of Ultimate Fighter.
Yep.
And
which I worked. I worked that season, yeah.
So you know the guy.
Uh-huh.
All right. So later on in his career, let's just say he's not dealing death to everybody. He's getting on in his years.
Right.
And he gets a new coach, Joshua Farbia. You familiar with that guy and his name?
No.
And he's trying to make a comeback in his career, so he gets this new trainer, this new coach, and they have him hanging upside down like a bat. And the trainer's punching him in the head. And they're filming this and showing, this is our new training method.
That sounds like Diego.
And this is our new thing. And so they have all these weird things. And then when he goes into a boxing match, there's microphones and people listening in the corner. And he's like, okay, I need you to get in his shadow. I need you to get in his shadow and then work your way behind him. And he's like, what are you talking about? But that's the way this coach was training, and that's the way he was teaching. And people come away going, well, that was some weird advice in the corner. Did you hear that? What is he talking about? So this whole thing is bizarre. And I thought this was odd. Weird training stuff. So Diego figures out before he's got some big fight coming on, that his coach, his trainer's not the real deal. All this time he's going, there's something wrong here. Things aren't turning out. And I think before Diego fires this guy, Joshua phone calls in to the UFC and says, I want to request all of this guy's medical records, every doctor he's ever been examined by. So if you examined him at any point, they wanted a copy of your records of what you found, what you saw. And it was cursory ones before and after fights.
Sure.
But it was also any doctor that even from before
licensing medical
everything all the way back.
Yeah.
And they have, this is a phone call that's been recorded. And he wants all these records, and he hangs up. And it was, do you know the name Hunter Campbell?
Oh, yeah.
And so Hunter decides, because this is on a video, he decides, he's like, I think this guy's going to sue us, or he's going to sue everybody. He's not winning. This coach, this trainer. He's really bizarre and whacked out. The only reason you would ask for this guy's entire medical history now, right before a big fight, what have you been doing? You've been training him for a year. Why would you think that? Does that fall in line with what Hunter was saying? Can you think of a reason?
I can't think of a reason, and I don't know the situation. I do know Hunter. I do know Diego. I didn't know that trainer. I know that he trained down in Jackson Wink and in New Mexico, but I don't know. I don't know why. What's he looking for?
Well, that's what I'm going to get to. I was kind of leading you down a path to see if you had any fill-in there. But Hunter basically gets out there and says, on the phone call, they play part of it for it. And he's like, well, why do you want all this? And he says, well, we think there may be some damage from this guy from years and years of being in UFC. And I just like to get the records so I can see where we're at. He said, I'm assuming to train him in a better direction, to work on his deficiencies. If you get hit in a certain way, let's work on defense there.
Right.
That's what I'm assuming this was all for. And you know what Hunter said? He cut him off. He goes, well, if you're concerned about his fitness, we're not fighting him.
Right.
And hung up.
Yeah.
He was fired. They pulled him from all the cards and said, hey, look, you're obviously concerned about him. Now, Hunter says, why else would you do this? You're setting us up for something here.
Right.
Asking for all the medical records. Now, you're setting us up. That's what he felt like.
Yeah.
And
no good can come out of that usually. Yeah.
Right. And so by Hunter's words on there, he basically just said he's protecting the fighter. Number one, he's protecting the fighter. Number two, he's protecting the UFC. He's like, if you have concerns as his trainer, then we're not fighting him. That's it. I don't care why you want all this stuff.
Which may or may not be disclosed. And and there's something that happened. Yeah,
does it sound fishy to you? You've been in the business a long time.
Oh, it sounds fishy from the coach trying to ask for that information.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, because then someone from the UFC side should come in, on a medical side, going, "What are you concerned about? Let's look into this." Yeah. I don't.
And Hunter just pulled him back and said, "Look, if you have enough concern about this guy's viability to fight that you're doing this, then he's off the card until we sort this out. You're done."
And Diego is a wild man. You got to go back and look at some of his fights. He was just, every fight was a war. And he would come out looking like crazy, and he's bloody mess, and he was always amped up. He was just, he was just go. He was a from a fan point of view, he was something that would, people would tune in. Yeah. People would tune in for that. But I don't know about that whole scene that happened.
Well, it just was an interesting thing of all the articles that I ran across and all the videos I'm trying to absorb on problems and controversies, whether it's performance-enhancing drugs or referees that called too late, called too early. As you're thinking of all these things, that was a really interesting story to run across. That the guy was, all of a sudden, this trainer's having him hang upside down like a bat and punching him in the head and all these other things. He had him run around the ring blindfolded. Yeah. I saw it. I was like, what kind of training is this?
Yeah. Wow.
And then followed up with this guy, I think, in my opinion, which means nothing, is that I think this guy Diego finally realized, you're screwing this all up. So before that guy got fired, he was going to fix all this for him and
I don't know about any of that.
And Hunter just called it out like, hey, if you're concerned, then we can't have him fight.
Yeah, Hunter's a lawyer, too, for the UFC.
Well, he was smart to do it. He protected the fighter first and UFC. He said, well, if there's a question, we got to stop.
Sure.
That just seems smart to me. All right, let's go back to Mike Tyson versus Mitch Green. Do you remember Mitch Green?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The gang leader?
I saw him at the Rio and with the big old black eye after Mike Tyson hit him outside of the...
I don't know. Well, looking at Thomas over here, I don't know if you're familiar with the name Mike Tyson, are you?
Yeah, I've heard of him before.
You heard of Mike Tyson. Good. That helps out a lot. That's a start. Mitch Green he was a gang leader.
He was a gang,
He was a gang leader. Yep. He's pretty yoked out. He had a foot on Mike Tyson, which means he probably had, 6-inch reach on Mike. He was a lot taller and trash talking like you wouldn't believe. I mean, in front of every camera, every day, I'm going to whoop his ass. I'm going to take him out. And I have watched probably every Mike Tyson fight because I was a huge fan of Mike. And when you saw him get in the ring with that glare, this one was almost times 10. I mean, I think he hated this guy. I never heard Mike say that. But I think at the time, Mike hated this guy.
He got under his skin for sure.
Yeah, because Mike just came in there and I'm like, you look at that fight, you look at the replays even, and I get shivers going, Mike was out to destroy this guy. It wasn't even going to make it close.
And he did.
Oh, yeah. He beat the hell out of him. And then this guy, Green, catches up with Mike later. I think, were they in New York? Was it later in New York?
Maybe, yeah. Or
like
Vegas.
in Harlem or something.
Yeah.
Mitch Green catches Tyson outside, getting in his car. He's getting his car. Right there in the parking lot, starts talking shit to Mike. Now, I'll say I've met Mike Tyson once in person, and it was a very bizarre story. But I would not talk shit to Mike. Mike doesn't have restraint like, there's
no rules at that point.
Yeah, well, we have to wait till there's cameras, and we have to wait till there's money involved. Mike's not like that. You flip a switch with Mike, and then you're done. Tyson was old school. Yeah. And he fucking clocked him. I mean, hit him so hard, like just almost cracked his jaw right here. And do you know what Mitch Green does now?
What?
He's a pastor.
Oh, really?
And he will tell you that punch changed me.
He smacked the fight right out of him.
He did. He says it was at that moment, and Mitch was on TV, like going, "Yeah, he hit me in the parking lot," and he wasn't talking the trash, and he took off his glasses and showed everybody one punch. And
I didn't know that.
It caused damage. And now when you look at Mitch Green later, and he's much older, like we all are, Mitch will tell you that one punch, I became a pastor, turned my life over to God. I was done.
Wow.
Didn't run my mouth, changed my friends, changed my image, shut up, went in the background, and just picked up a Bible, and it's been there ever since.
Wow.
That was an interesting story.
I feel like I should pick up. Like I need to get hit by Mike Tyson, man.
Well, I think Mike should just go around punching people to be saved. He punch you and you turn to God that minute.
That's cool.
That was a story that I didn't know if you remembered that, but there was so many fights, and I look back on the stuff that we grew up with, and I went down nostalgia lane. I mean, you look at Hearns and Hagler.
Oh yeah.
And I rewatched that fight doing this. I was like at 4 a.m. I'm up there sitting in the studio at home, and I'm watching this, and I'm like, wow, they really just slugged it out.
Yeah, the staggering around and all that. Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I mean, how do you judge one of those fights on a scorecard? You look and go, these two guys. Now I was a big Hagler fan. I like Marvelous Marvin Hagler. That was the other thing I was going to do, and I'll do this on the next Fight Doctor. I have a very specific thing in mind to talk about, very specific with boxing, and I want to go back into when we grew up and then move into some of that. One of them was I'm going to ask him all the nicknames. If I ask you Marvelous, you'd say Marvin Hagler. Yeah. If I said Hitman,
Hearns.
Yeah, so I mean, there's a lot of those that I wanted to go back and just see how many he knew. So now he's got a chance to study up. So no question.
I know. Yeah.
If you blow it next time,
I probably should.
Yeah.
Boxing isn't. So UFC, Zuffa, is bringing back boxing. They got involved with that.
Really?
So I've worked the first boxing show that they had just a couple weeks ago, the second one, and now I'm working the third one this coming up weekend. And so they're getting into the boxing business.
Wow.
And so I'm hoping that this brings back boxing like it was when we grew up.
Right.
Because it really has... It just didn't have the flavor.
Well,
in fact, I've become more of a MMA fan just because of it's just not what it was.
You and I talked about this last time. We talked a little bit about how we grew up watching boxing, and of course, you were actually in it, at the time. But to me, as the fan, I don't like tapping. Tap, tap, tap. I got 10 taps. He got 5 taps.
Right.
Who got the most taps with our gloves? But, I won the round because I touched you more than you touched me.
And that's Olympic-style boxing usually.
I hate that.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how much that is so foreign to me by what we grew up with. We grew up with people, going for the knockout, not going for the win by who landed the most punches. We grew up with people trying to destroy each other.
Right.
It wasn't taps and counts. It was down goes Frazier.
Yeah.
Those were big moments.
They were.
And I would like for it to get back to more of the aggressive gladiator style. And I know that sounds maybe childish, it sounds barbaric, but I appreciate that. I would watch that more than I watch people just trying to get the most points. That's how I feel about it.
And with the first couple of Zuffa boxing events on Paramount, that's I'm not trying to, I'm not here for a commercial.
Yeah.
But the matchmaking is a big part of that. And you can tell on these fights, the undercards is actually they're evenly matched. So you're seeing some of these, kind of throwback fights, if you will, in some of these in these cards, it's actually good to see.
I'd like to. I was thinking about kind of a sideline thing. It really didn't have anything to do with not specifically boxing, but in my opinion, and it's all this is remember, ladies and gentlemen, I'm just a dumb mechanic in the middle of the desert. What do I know? But I think you and I have been blessed in our time that we've grown up. Mm-hmm. I could talk about music and movies and the 70s and 80s. You and I grew up in the same neighborhoods, the same thing in that valley area from La Crescenta, Pasadena, and San Fernando Valley. We went to the same places. I mean, I think that was special and amazing back then.
Yeah.
But think about it in sports. Think about it in our lifetime. I think arguably one of the greatest boxers of all time is going to be Mike Tyson, and we got to be, in our age, we were there paying attention and watching and seeing it.
Yeah.
You look at that and you say, one of the greatest basketball players of all time, we got to watch Jordan play. Mm-hmm. You talk about one of the greatest golfers ever in Tiger Woods. I heard a stat the other day that I didn't believe. And I'm not a golfer, but I will watch golf. I will watch and go. I have amazing respect for those guys.
Yeah.
They said there's a guy, I don't even know his name. Right now, he's like the number one golfer in the world. And he's been like the number one. I think, he's been the number one golfer for like an amazing amount of time, like 160 weeks or something, which is insane. 160 weeks. And they're like, hey, well, if you want to catch Tiger on being the number one golfer, you would have to be the number one golfer for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
It was like 9 years and 8 months. You better be the number one ranked golfer for 9 years and 8 months, and then you're almost tied with him.
Right.
And then that's you can't. That's insane.
Yeah.
How could you ever do that? But you and I have got to witness maybe some of the greatest athletes in every single sport, records that may never be touched again, and we got to see it. Yeah. And they may be talking about this 70s, 80s, and 90s generations of athletes in these sports for the next 30 or 40 years, and they're not even caught up to it. But we lived it. We were so fortunate to see that stuff.
Yeah.
That just seems amazing to me, that when you look at it from that perspective, that how blessed we are that we had this time, because there's some athletes that I don't know they'll ever see anybody that can hit like Mike Tyson again.
Right.
In his prime, I just don't know you could ever duplicate what was
especially
there.
In the heavyweight. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just look at it and go, I just can't see it ever happening. There's so much of that I've looked at, and you can fan that out to other players like Wayne Gretzky too, and some of the records he holds. You just look and go, there's no way. How was he doing it for so long and holds all these records? He's got scoring titles, he's got game titles. You can't touch him.
Right. I'm not a big baseball fan, but I know you are. But it seems like I've always tuned in to at the right time.
Right.
Kirk Gibson and that home run, and he's doing this.
Yep.
I got to witness that. Yeah. It's pretty cool.
It's just you look at some of the highlight reels, and with my children too, as they look at some of the highlight reels when Briggs gets into sports, and he's like looking at these things, and he's like, wow, these were. He wants to know how many I was actually present for and how many that I watched. And I'm like, well, I wasn't present for many of them, but I saw them.
Yeah.
You're watching them. And did we know we were watching history?
Yeah.
Probably not.
Yeah.
We didn't know at the time. We just, when you talk about the generation and the area we grew up in, we didn't know how special that time was, those places were, until we're out of it and looking back and going, whoa.
Yeah, I kind of do that, now with my kids. You look at some of these things when they were younger, just like with Brady. I'm not a huge Brady fan as a quarterback.
Yeah.
But what he did was remarkable. And I would bring the kids down and say, hey, just watch this, and this is something that's going to come up later that you're actually going to be witnessing now.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I agree. I think that's pretty cool.
Okay. That's something I caught on to late as a parent. But I did catch on. And I sat my kids down and said, you need to watch this, because you might be. How difficult is it to catch something in the moment and know you're in the moment, that you're actually watching something, because you don't think about it till afterwards. But as a parent, if you can catch on to that and show your kid and go, you may need to sit down for this, because you may be watching something that it'll be talked about for years.
You brought up Jordan. I think back then, I think we knew it at that time.
Yeah.
I think watching those games when he would take it over and hit the last shot,
Yep.
I think you knew at that point that you're witnessing.
Do you know
history.
why? I think you and I were conditioned with something. I think the reason you and I knew that we were at the time, we're like, whoa, this is different, is because you and I watched Magic and Bird.
Right.
And that was amazing. That was the top. At that time, you're thinking, there's nobody going to be better than these guys. The competition, you're never going to get there. And then when you see Jordan come along, we had something to compare it to that
Right.
we had already been watching.
That's true.
I think we picked up on a little bit of that.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and you could probably back me up. Let's put on your doctor hat again.
Yeah.
I don't think the mid-'70s Steelers and the Steel Curtain could compete with NFL players today.
Oh, you mean
Physically.
they would get beat?
Yeah, I think they'd get beat.
Yeah.
I think that all the toughness of those times of being big, tough guys and beer drinking, pizza,
Right.
smoking on the field,
Right.
as tough as those guys were, as smart, football
That's
smart
true.
as they were, I think they breed.
They weren't as fast. They weren't as strong.
They breed an athlete for the NFL from 12 years old.
Right.
And still not all of them make it.
Right.
But I mean, the physical training that they shape a body to be a baseball player, to be a football player, to be a basketball player. You guys as doctors and trainers, you guys feed them diets and exercises that you sculpt them. I don't think there's any comparison between the athletes then
Right.
versus now. The only exception that I argue with my son about, and he's huge on every team would decimate your old teams, Dad. Not even close. And I'm like, except for baseball.
Right.
And he says, no, they wouldn't. No, now a pitcher is still a pitcher unless these new pitchers start throwing 120 miles an hour. Batters are still batters. The bases are still the same distance apart.
I can see that.
I don't know that you can enhance a baseball player so far medically and conditioning that he just would stomp on you.
Right.
Football, yeah. You can make a wide receiver that can leap, have a vertical of 60 inches and sprint, do 100 yards and 9 flat maybe. That's different.
Yeah.
But baseball, I just don't see it being that much of an advantage.
I can see that.
But the other sports, or look at what you're doing with boxing or MMA stuff, those guys are
Bowling.
honed. Yeah, bowling. See, I think if a sport ever begins to have a lull, I think I know how to fix it. Now, I'm speaking from our generation here. So, Thomas, you're the young guy in the room. So I'll talk to you directly, and we'll ask a doctor's opinion here. I think if you ever had a sport that was beginning to fail, they should call me. Whoever's running golf PGA tournaments should call me.
What do you have in mind?
Full contact golf. Or full contact bowling. I think this is the thing right there. I'm just saying, I have ways to spice stuff up, but nobody ever calls and asks.
They're way ahead of you. I've had, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I've had multiple people reach out to me with they run the line or something like that. Have you seen this where two people get 40 yards apart and they run into each other?
I was going to call you when I saw that.
Everyone sent me that.
What is this?
So this is, to me, that's up there with slap, and
they just run at each other and lower their shoulders.
Yeah, see who
I was like,
who's standing
right?
afterwards.
They changed all the rules in the NFL for how they do kickoffs, so they didn't have 11 dudes running full speed at each other, and now these guys are just doing it for fun. They just one-on-one.
Well,
crazy. Have you seen it?
I haven't seen this.
Oh,
no.
look it up. It's crazy.
That's right. They took that away in the NFL. No more sprinting during kickoffs and stuff like that. So a lot of guys were upset, like, well, this is what I look forward to. Now what am I supposed to do? Hey, we have invented a sport for you. If that's what you were into, we got something for you. And it's literally, I don't know how these guys don't have broken collarbones every time they hit each other.
Yeah.
They're just massive guys running as hard as they can. They lower their head and their shoulder and just try to point it at the other guy, and they hit so hard you can hear it. And then they fall down.
Do they have pads? Do they have a helmet?
I didn't see that.
No helmets.
No helmet. I didn't see if they had any kind of.
I've got the video right here on the phone.
I don't think they had pads on.
They don't.
But it's like, okay, how long does it take for a collarbone to heal?
God, 6 months.
You're out of things for a while.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's
so someone's ahead of you. Someone's already on it. Yeah, I don't know how much I'd tune in for that, but it's like watching, train wreck.
All right. Now, listen, I'm going to give you the choice. I have some things that I want to talk about next time with boxing, specifically boxing stuff. But I want you to pick a topic because I love brushing up on this stuff now. I want to come in and I want to be able to play on the computer. I want to play some video for you, and we'll put another camera on that so the audience can see at home where you and I want you pick a topic and then let me come at you with that topic. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about UFC stuff? You want to talk about people that got hurt? You want to talk about medical calls? What's on your mind?
Yeah, all of it. I like it all. I mean, the controversial stuff. I think we talked a little bit about how you can get to that point and why someone would call it this way or that way. But again, you're never. That's convincing somebody that can't be convinced. You're not going to ever win that argument.
There are so many times, and I'm telling you, when I was up researching this and I'm sitting there's so many times I wanted to show you the video and go, but it's hard for me to do that. But next time, if I just have this monitor, I can play it on here. I can play it on here where we can both see it. I can put a third camera right on that where the audience at home can see what we're talking about and say, what happened here? What do you think about this? And I want to go back to the fights a long time ago when we were growing up. Not even doctors and refs that you and I know, just situations where I need your analysis from today, looking back and going, what should have gone different?
Should we have allowed that to go or something?
Yeah, because there's so much stuff that I would just have sitting around a bar with you conversation, not even on air, going, remember when this happened when we were kids? What went wrong there? Because I didn't think of it back then.
Right. So this is my life now of doing, being involved with this organization and doing what I do. I'm constantly doing this, and every weekend is another opportunity to have like a controversial situation. I'll bring it back to my colleagues and we'll all discuss it, kind of nerd out on it. But
you got it. That shapes the way things are going in the future.
Yeah. And I mean, sometimes you don't have a right answer. Sometimes you have really good doctors that I respect, and they might not see it the same way you do.
I get that. That's human nature. What are you going to do about that?
Yeah, and that's like I said, sometimes you won't.
There's a guy, and I won't mention his name. He doesn't want to come on to be interviewed. Likes what we do, but he was lieutenant governor in Nevada for years, and now he's on the gaming commission, and Nevada Gaming Commission, and he's nervous about coming on. He goes, anytime someone in my position says something, it becomes a problem.
Yeah.
He goes, there's no upside for me. And I spoke to him on the phone once, and he's very reluctant, and I want to send him some stuff from some interviews. Like, there's no gotcha moments, man. We're not trying to, especially a guy in your position, it would be super simple for me to run at you with controversial things you could easily get in trouble for having an opinion on.
Right.
And I desperately don't want to do that at all. And I think if this particular guy I'm talking to listens to you and I talk, he would be more at ease going, oh yeah, this guy never made a run at Damon once. No, I didn't, and I don't want to.
Right.
But he would be an interesting guest to have on with the Nevada Gaming Commission and how he does stuff too. I think that would be one you'd be interested in being around that guy, just to listen to his point of view on how because the Gaming Commission has controversy all the time too. Not they're not in boxing, they're on the other side, but just digging into what his job is, it's like, wow, you really got to be careful on wins and losses in casinos and what you let them get away with and what you don't, and what are the rules and how do you get there. And it seems to me they do the same thing you do. They're constantly revamping stuff to this fine line between customer putting out money and the house, the casinos.
Yeah.
And then it bridges into bookmaking. Now you're into sports.
Right.
And how those things, and are they fixed, and what you're liable for with your rules. That's tough.
That's becoming big in MMA and boxing now. So there's been a couple fights pulled because of some odds switching at the last minute, late money coming in. You saw that?
I had that written
So the
down.
FBI is actually involved with some of these.
Yeah. God, who was it? I wrote that down. It was a guy who was an MMA, skinny kid, maybe not even 30. He did okay in MMA, became a coach, and had an organization training kids. But he also had a Discord site where he was betting, and he would charge you 1% for his advice. like a bookie, and then you could bet. But then he was being interviewed on a podcast, and the guy says, "So, do you bet on your own fights?" He goes, "Yeah, his own fighters
to lose."
And then he bet on the guy with the shoulder.
Yeah.
He was, remember the guy that I told you about, he blew out his shoulder in the first round? Turns out the guy bet like millions against his own guy because he knew he had a bad shoulder.
Information.
Yeah, he knew he had a bad shoulder. He knew he wasn't going to make it. So he put all his money on the guy getting thrown out like in the first 2 rounds, and he won.
Yeah.
And Dana White came on after that because they were pounding Dana about this bullshit.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Do you not," this is Dana's words, he goes, "Do you not understand? These guys are going to go to federal prison for that."
Right.
But that's good on Dana for getting out in front and going, "I don't agree with this.
Yeah, they don't want that.
You can't do this. It's not correct." I mean, how great is that guy?
Well, then it's going to turn into WWE, right? I mean, it's everything's just scripted.
Rehearsed.
So, yeah, we don't want that. So, if there's anything like you're talking about, giving some information that I have, again, I know these people pretty well. I have a good sense of who they are.
Right.
And I can just tell you that there's nothing that's fixed from their point of view. I could just tell you that.
No,
and I think that's what you hear online. It's like, oh yeah, they had money on, or I've had it said about me about calling a certain fight. And, someone will just chime in, "Oh, yeah, how much was he paid to make that decision?"
About you?
Yeah, about me, yeah.
Okay, well, I don't even know what fight it is, but I tell you that's bullshit. I know you. I know you know you.
No, I know. But again, if it's happening to me, I can, you just...
I will say from everything I've learned when I'm beginning to really dig into this online and just pumping hundreds and hundreds of hours of listening to what's been going on in the last 15 years. And then I listen to how you clarify it for me. I will, at this point in my life, I will tell you this. And for everyone listening to me, if you guys are trusting my voice, you're trusting what I'm saying, the framework of, let's say, UFC is legit. It is absolutely legit. They're not trying to set people up so they can make side bets and make money. If anybody's doing that, it's under UFC with the people they can't control. Like a guy who's a trainer going, "Hey, my guy's going to lose tomorrow. Go bet on him." What does UFC have to do with that? They can't control what those people do, but it's under the framework of a good thing with the UFC, and it's below that they can try to reach down and make all the rules they want, but that's tough to do.
Yeah,
you can't stop everybody from talking.
Well, like Mayweather used to bet on himself every fight, right? $1 million here and there, but he's betting to win.
Yeah, not to lose.
Now, if you're betting to lose, that's automatically
that's a whole
problem.
Different thing. She's pointing at me about something. I don't know what it is. Well, that's a whole other animal on there. But this guy I was telling you, he bet on his guy to lose, knew he was going to lose.
That's terrible.
And then Dana White came out and said, "Federal prison for these guys." The first thing he did is call the FBI. Yeah. And you know what tipped him off is what you said.
Betting.
Late money.
Yes.
3 hours before the fight. This guy who's, it's a close-up, and there's millions and millions and millions to be put on this guy to lose in the first round, in the first 2 minutes of the first round. It's like, well, and the bookmakers keep moving the goalposts, and they're still taking those bets. They're like, "No, I'm still betting on him." Well, now we're not giving you good odds. We're giving you terrible odds. Well, I'm still doing it.
Right.
Now, somebody turned around and said, "Wait a second. We got 3 hours before the fight. You guys are laying out millions on this guy to lose in the first 2 minutes." That's almost like saying, how much money can I make in the fight that's going to start in 3 hours, if I bet $1 million the guy's going to lose in the first round due to a shoulder injury by a right kick to with the heel? It's like, wait a second. And they were betting in that fashion to where it raised all the red flags, and then when the guy lost, they called him. They called the FBI.
That's terrible. I mean, that just ruins it.
Yeah.
But give it to the UFC. I mean, the FBI is involved. They're seeing these trends. They're not even let the fight happen, which is great. So.
There's some of these guys that I ran across, and I'll try to remember the specific one, but I ran across stuff where the fans were trying to blame Dana White for being a shyster about how he was conducting stuff. And there was a fight that this was the big one that came up over and over and over again. They were really anti-Dana and said that he moved a fight from Nevada to California. I think it was for a Conor McGregor fight.
I think that was John Jones.
John Jones.
Yeah.
It was a fight where, and And the way you listen to all the fans railroad Dana about, and then you had to move it because you couldn't get him to sanction to fight. So you moved to a place and then he lost. And then you made money and everybody made money when a bunch of bullshit. But then I listened to Dana's side of it. I kept looking until I found a response from him because, of course, these guys aren't going to put up his response. You got to go dig it up. They just want to make him look bad. And Dana said, we had to get this fight done. There was a lot of people on this card. And, that was the other thing. People complaining, you're making us take our whole entourage to California now. It's going to cost us all this money, and we got to pay California tax, and we got to house everybody, we got to fly everybody, and it's a big hassle. And, at the end of the day, the fight was all screwed up, but Dana made his money. That's how they put it. But you listen to Dana talk about it, and again, a completely novice point of view, and he very simply said, there's a lot of people depending on this fight, on these cards, to get it done. And we couldn't get it done in Vegas. They were pulling everything back because of medical reasons. But California, he'd already been certified. He'd already been cleared. We knew we could do it there. So we moved it to a place where everybody could continue with the fight. He's like, why is everyone mad at me for we made everything go. We made it work.
Yeah, right.
And if I'm telling you, and this is my novice, dumb point of view, I can listen to Reddit and these guys, YouTubers and social media, and they can put a narrative in my brain that totally makes sense. Like, what a bunch of terrible people doing this, until I listen to you talk, or until I listen to Dana speak, and then I'm like, I get why they did that now.
Yeah,
I get why some of the
there's a reason
there
behind
was.
it.
Yeah. And as an outside person just becoming super involved in this, I fell into many traps of these conversations until I listened to you.
Well, I hate these the controversial things. So, I was involved with that Aljamain Sterling fight and Piotr Jan, and I still have, we still have conversations about how that went down, but we use that for the future, not to let those certain things happen. But controversy is not good when it comes to me personally, or the refs or the judges or anything like that. It's just, it sucks.
It like you said it 3 or 4 times during this podcast. It taints it because you're not sure. It's like, well, was this all a setup or not? And no, but there's situations that are complicated. And they get out of control, or it becomes more complicated than you're ready for it. But guess what? If you talk about it, you'll be more ready for it next time.
That's right.
I dig that. I've learned so much about what's going on from you. And like the next one, I really want to sit and do the visual stuff with you. I want to play some stuff and then talk about and some old school things too. Yeah. Because maybe you can explain how the rules are different now versus what they were. How do we get here?
Right.
I like that part. You guys have been listening in. It has been a major, major interview with Thomas the engineer. He didn't talk very much, so Dr. Damon Zavala filled in for him. Thank you for jumping in, because Thomas really didn't carry the program like we thought he was going to.
I was waiting for some questions. So.
I asked a question I almost got fired for.
That's right.
Damon, thanks for coming in with this one again, and we'll schedule another one next month. Cool. And I'm going to have more notes. You're the only guy I've ever made notes for. But I want to get as much close to that as I can, so I can remember exactly what we're talking about. Next time we'll bring some visual stuff too, put it on the screen, let everybody see what's going on, and it'll be a lot of fun. Thanks again.
That. All right, thank you.
Thomas, we about ready to wrap it up? We good?
Yes, sir.
Little Miss Hot and Nerdy, are we done, Nate? Because my session over, get a little thumbs up from the corner there. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening in. Not sure where you're chiming in from around the planet, AM, FM, Sirius XM, or perhaps you chimed in on the Armed Service Radio Network. Remember 2 things in this life. Number 1, wherever you go, there you are. And number 2, I'll catch you guys on the flip side. I'm out.